and do it now. Little 311 on a Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. Back for another episode, AOA Podcast Live, as we tend to do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or anywhere in that 15-minute range. And then live on Spotify and Facebook and YouTube and all the other podcast locations, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, all the podcasts. We're there. We're everywhere. We appreciate you, especially all those in our live chat right now. I see Miss Justice. Miss Justice gave us the Sarah Ferguson story before everybody else today. Dr. Dex, Bird, Robin, Christella, Paul, everybody's in the house. Shout out to Willie, though. Willie, every time Willie talks, I just smile. You know, a lot of people write me all day long ago, you put a smile on my face, Aunt. You guys put a smile on my face. Couldn't do this without you guys, and appreciate each and every last one of you for being here. And a special shout out to Paul, who's just redefining the C word, if you will. I mean, there's the dictionary. Somebody's going to write a documentary on what Paul has contributed to the dictionary with one word and how many different words he's created in and all around it. But my friends, we have a ton of stuff to get to on the episode, including the new Tylenol Autism link claims that were laid out in the White House earlier today with the President of the United States, with Bobby Kennedy, with Dr. Oz, and a bunch of other guys in suits. Jimmy Kimmel is coming back to your local television station. Well, that all depends. But Disney just coming out today with an announcement. We'll tell you what they said and didn't say. Sarah Ferguson in hot water over these Epstein emails that were uncovered. Ghislaine Maxwell is going for a stroll like nothing is wrong. Candace Owens and Brigitte Macron's lawsuit heats up a bit. Modelo dethroned as the king of beers. What's the most popular beer in the world now? Stick around. We'll share it with you and some other assorted topics and such as it comes about. All that and more, my friends. That's a podcast. Modelo and the king of beers. What was the king of beers? Coors, or was it Bud? I don't even remember. Nothing beat a beer commercial in like the 90s. That was the golden era. Although I will say Shane Gillis's Bud Light commercials have been pretty good. The one he did with I'm just gonna feel like a rock star. That guy. That was a good one. I enjoyed that one pretty thoroughly. But we got to get into the day's news, and perhaps the biggest story. President Trump has been teasing it for us over the course of the entire weekend. He's very excited about this. The link between autism and Tylenol. I'm going to choose my words very carefully here because the president and some of his constituents chose their words very carefully in the White House earlier this afternoon. And I feel the same because somebody just put in the comments not too long ago was the lawsuit filed by Tylenol. Or who makes Tylenol? I don't even know. Some big pharma company. And I would imagine that lawsuit, Budweiser doesn't. Christella, Dr. Dex, come on, focus up. Budweiser does not make. Oh, wait, were you guys answering the King of Beers question? Oh, and in that case, then thank you. I appreciate that. But last I checked, Budweiser does not sell Tylenol. I don't believe that to be true. That would be a catastrophe. If that were the case. It would be catastrophic too, now that I think about it, if I can contribute to it all as well. Unilever is Paul's guess. There's a guy on TikTok who just is like, hey, you know who makes that little indie brand that you love? And then he tells you like the big parent company, and like 9 times out of 10, it's Unilever. Like Unilever, if you go into a shower, no matter how indie you think you are with your toothpaste and your shampoos and your soaps, Unilever probably contributes to the cleansing of your body. Unilever is into everything. There was one little episode from that guy. I don't know who it is. If anybody knows who the TikTok guy is that tells you who owns everything. There was one episode where he's like, you guessed it, Unilever basically made everything from like popcorn to toilet paper to toothpaste. It was just nuts. But anyway, I watched the press conference from earlier today where essentially President Trump came out and Say what you will about President Trump, but he has a passion for autism, apparently. He said in his comments today that him and Bobby Kennedy met on this like 20 years ago when he was just a real estate developer. Interesting take on it. I know autism has been a concern for people for quite a while. I don't think anybody is not concerned about autism. But according to the studies that they are finding, the latest is that there seems to be some sort of link between moms taking Tylenol while pregnant and also Tylenol use in young children. The president went as far as to say of also that we should be spacing out our vaccines in children early on, and then turned it over to Bobby Kennedy, who kind of squared away a bit more information on the topic, which was basically that they are going to be studying this a lot more, that some early returns on studies have shown that the link between Tylenol usage in expecting moms and autism, there's enough there to warrant even more studying, I think is the takeaway. Interesting that President Trump's delivery seems to continue to be not softened, not really backed by the facts. I mean, he was openly talking about how this is how he feels. And then here's, everybody else responsible on the panel that's going to, give you some scientifically backed facts on what they're finding. So I found that to be interesting. I know that the detractors for the president would like the president to stick to a bit more of a script and be a little bit more careful. I can't say I disagree. I mean, I think there's a time and a place for, hey, this is my opinion on things. But at the same time, unless you have a stethoscope around your neck, I don't know if anybody really should be talking during these things, Again, I appreciate the president's passion about something like this, but at the same time, you can say, "Hey, I'm passionate and I'm suspect of some of the things, but here's the experts, and they're going to tell you what really happened." And he kind of did that in his own way, but I don't want to get lost in the right versus left fight, where the immediate response is going to be, "Oh, everything the guy does is wrong." I think I've been more than fair with the president as far as these things go. When we're talking about children and their health and that kind of thing, I wouldn't have gone outside the lines. I wouldn't have colored outside the lines as much as he did during the introduction to his press conference. He did. I hope people will do their own research and get the real facts, because the sense that I got from Bobby Kennedy when he took the podium was that there's enough here to suspect this, and we're going to study a bit more on it. Whereas President Trump came right out and said, "Pregnant women, please stop taking Tylenol." Studies have shown that the taking of the common painkiller is associated with autism in children. Trump told reporters from the Roosevelt Room in the White House, with Tylenol, don't take it, don't take it. He gave his opinion about the pregnancy, women's health, vaccinations, and drug safety. And autism. He added, ideally, you don't take it at all, but if you have to, you can go. And if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it. Trump said that the only time pregnant women should take Tylenol, a common form of acetaminophen, is, did I nail that? I don't know, is during a high risk fever. And again, I want to just say from your old pal Ant's heart is to consult with your doctor, because maybe just don't listen to podcasters. Maybe don't listen to people on the internet. Consult with your doctor. See what the deal is. I think that's always the best way to go. Nothing wrong with reading things and finding out information and listening to people with microphones. My livelihood depends on that. But also check everything that you come across with your own doctor, because I feel like we're getting into this weird world where there are going to be several things that can be contradictory and true at the same time. Not saying that this is the case here, but, I think that when it comes to studying and science, there are scientific facts that are all mutually agreed upon by peer-reviewed papers and studies and everything like that. And then there's also cases where well, it might be this thing, and it might be A, it might be B, it might be C, and there's no definitive research out there that can prove one over the other. And this might be one of those areas. Could they be dead on with this and like, hey, this is an issue and this is perhaps one of the reasons? They could be. Is it this plus another thing? I mean, I guess perhaps, which really is what I got from, Health and Human Service Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., which is that it was more like these are our recommendations and here's some of our other findings, and we're going to open this up and fund studying to kind of find out what's going on here. Because I don't think anybody can deny, and I feel like this is universally accepted, and this is something that the president opened up his comments on earlier this afternoon, which is autism went from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 31. I don't know what those numbers are, and perhaps there's probably different numbers around, but I think what's fairly undisputed is, besides heavyweight champions, for some reason, if you get a belt, there's no, in a sport where fighting is the thing, we all agree that whoever has the belt, there's no dispute. They're the champion, right? It's kind of a weird juxtaposition. Bizarre side. Move on, Ann. The point I'm trying to make here is that I don't even know what point I'm trying to make. I totally lost it. I went so off on my little undisputed rant, and I was way too proud of it for the amount of laughs it could have possibly produced that I forgot the original fucking thing I was saying. Anyway, doesn't really make much of a difference, does it? But I think what Kennedy was saying is we got to study this more. It's time to put the resources behind finding out what is really at hand here. Oh, what I was saying was it's undisputed that autism seems to be a larger issue than it used to be. The president also cited a statistic of 1 in 12 boys now have autism. Again, I don't know what we're categorizing here or where people are on the spectrum, if it's just a smidge or not. But I do have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. I do have a wife who works in a school, and the feeling that I get, total opinion, not based in any sort of reality, the feeling I get is when I was a kid, you didn't hear autism thrown around. And I know what you're thinking, whatever, old timer, that was like 40 fucking years ago when you were a kid. Hurtful, but also true. Thank you. We didn't hear about this. We didn't talk about this as much. When I'm in college, I hear people talking about it even more. I remember Jenny McCarthy was always big on this whole thing, and people were trying to find reasons. Parents, I just remember reading parents struggle to figure out what was happening and what had changed. And that was 15, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, which, you want to always not rest on those laurels and fight for answers and do more research and see if you could do more, find out more. Science is never sleeping, nor should it be. They always should be out there looking for those answers. I agree with that. I don't find any fault in trying to figure out what's going on. I think I think this is one of those things that's good for progress. It's one of those instances where, hey, this is what the government should be doing for us. They should be looking out for our well-being. They should be studying things. Just because something, what President Trump doesn't get enough credit for is doing things just cause. What his detractors fail to realize is we've had really a lot of stagnant movement, no movement. We've been stagnant as a government for a long time. Hard to get anything done. Thing I think the Trump administration should be celebrated for is the fact that they just keep trying to move the needle on stuff. Now, you could definitely make the argument that they're not doing a good job at it, or they're moving that needle in all the wrong directions. Totally fine. Based on your opinion, up to you. But it feels like they're trying to accomplish a lot. Like, again, I give President Obama credit for this. Universal health care. That was a huge lift. It was one thing. It was a huge lift. Getting us out of the 2008 crisis, then putting the focus on that, trying to make a huge leap for where we were as a country. I feel like there's another example of an administration that is trying to do something. You may not agree with it, but they're trying to do it. They're trying to do something better for the betterment of the people. And I feel like that's on the surface a great thing. There's some administrations where you just like, I don't really know where I saw the leaps or the goals that they're trying to go for. You talk about Kennedy, ask not what you can do for your country. That's not what your country can do for you. Fool me once, can't fool me again, is basically what I think Kennedy said. But the point is, we always should be striving for more. I think why people loved the 60s and the 70s a lot is because you did have that hope for the moon. You did have that, like, where could we go next? What's the new frontier? How could we better ourselves? How can we, be better? And then essentially Atari came out, and I think it all went to shit after that. Once we got video games, we just stopped really trying when you think about it. But it was nice while it lasted. So anyway, they're trying to do something with this. I believe they should be applauded for the effort. Again, I wish the delivery of the message was handled with a bit more care. The doctors that spoke after the president cleaned things up a bit. Try to write or just specifically state, what exactly it is they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish. The new recommendation is at odds with physician groups who say the drug, which has been on the market for 70 years, is safe. More than 50% of women report taking the drug during pregnancy because it has long been regarded as the safest analgesic. Careful how you Google that, because you could wind up at a weird analgesic. That's one word. Just be careful. Make sure you don't Google analgesic at work, is all I'm saying. Wait till you get home. Because you don't want to be like, were you on analgeriatrics.com today? And you're like, no, I saw this story about Tylenol and goddamn spell correct turn Jessic into Geriatric, and I didn't mean to. And then they're going to be like, what's Jessic? And then I don't know. That's why I was Googling it. And if I promise you, I wasn't trying to visit analgeriatrics.com. I assure you, but you can't prove that. So anyway, Google that shit at work, at home, I should say. And let me also say this. 99% of what you hear on this podcast, Google at home. You don't want to be hauled into HR being like, what's a catastrophe? Can you explain why you're Googling catastrophe? Why do most of your Googles have C-U-C-K? They start with C-U-C-K in them. You can't be like, because I listened to this asshole on a podcast. It's not, that ain't going to save your job. This is not going to save your job. The Trump administration is pointing to a growing body of research that suggests a connection between autism in children and the use of Tylenol during pregnancy. In particular, a Mount Sinai and Harvard University study published in August reviewed the existing literature and concluded that a large majority of studies on the topic found autism diagnosis was more likely for expectant mothers who took acetaminophen or Tylenol. So again, just because these things have been one way for a long time doesn't mean that it can't be. What I'm really terrified for here is people to just write off what they're saying today because they hate Donald Trump or don't believe in Robert Kennedy and some of the bullshit that's been spewed about him. Because there has been lies about him. And there also has been a ton of boneheaded shit to come out of his skull at the same time. Both of those things are true. And there's obviously a lot of not clarity on where he stands on a lot of his vaccine talk, although I feel like he's tried to clarify a bunch. I'm okay with our health and human service person being skeptical and wanting more studies. I'm comfortable with that. I understand it's uneasy for people to be like, well, hold on, I'm trying to have a baby. Do I take Tylenol or not? Again, talk to your physician. I feel like we're going to be in a weird time where it's going to be, we always thought this was safe in one thing, but now, again, there's new studies suggesting perhaps there is something more here. Don't be afraid to let science do science's thing. There have been plenty of times in history where science thought one thing and then further study proved something else. Okay? Let's not just rush to, well, I think these guys are idiots and I'm just going to go off and do whatever I want. Or I trust this guy with all my heart. I voted for him. I think he's doing great for the country. So I'm just going to like this isn't something that we're going to solve in the 24-hour news cycle. Again, Mount Sinai is not a fly-by-night operation. Harvard University, not a fly-by-night operation. But let's look at what they're doing. It's a study that both of those universities published in August, reviewing the existing literature, and concluded that a large majority of studies on the topic found autism diagnosis was more likely for expectant mothers who took this drug. So for anybody to be just jumping out today and being like, that's bullshit, or yay, 100%, keep in mind, which is why I don't want the president saying the things that he says, like save your fucking opinion for another day so that the truth can come out here on what we're talking about, because the idiot mainstream media will just be like, Trump says Tylenol's bad. And then they'll just focus on what a moron he is and just trying to sling mud against him, when perhaps there's good people here, layers and layers underneath Trump, Kennedy, and Dr. Oz, that are really trying to put in the research and really trying to figure out if there's something to this or not. And listen, maybe we'll find out there is, and maybe we'll find out there isn't. Maybe we'll find out that for a percentage of people, it is true. And for a percent of people, it's not true. And maybe we'll have to figure out what it is in that percentage of people that it is true for. What is it in them that this Tylenol or acetaminophen, whatever, that's bringing it out. You know, let's let the experts figure that out. I know some of us out there would like better experts, but again, because I'm an optimist, because I believe in humanity, stupidly, I really got to get rid of that. It's a bad quality. I think there's good doctors down there that are going to be exploring this and seeing what's what. That's it. Let's not take it for more than it's worth. Let's not go to our favorite cable news network and just regurgitate whatever they're saying, you know, because I don't think that helps anybody. Robert Kennedy is also recommending children who are exhibiting signs of autism take luciferin, which helps correct folate deficiencies. Low levels of folate in pregnant mothers have been associated with neurological disorders in children, some studies show. While not a cure, HHS said the drug may lead to speech improvements for children with autism. The FDA will be updating the label on acetaminophen to relay the risk in pregnancy, and will be sending out a letter to all doctors with the warning. The agency will be notifying physicians against the use of acetaminophen effective immediately, Trump said, noting that kids should also not be given the drug. Kenvue, the manufacturer of Tylenol, disputed the president's announcement, saying, quote, the facts that are over a decade of rigorous research endorsed by leading medical professionals and global health regulators confirms there's no credible evidence linking acetaminophen with autism. Kenvue spokesperson said in a statement, we stand with the many public health and medical professionals who have reviewed this science and agree we will continue to explore all options to protect health interests of American women and children. Trump had called on the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and some of its sub-agencies to look into the cause of autism in the U.S., which he said is among the most alarming public health developments in history. Rates of autism have risen 400% since 2000. 1 in 31 American children are now affected. Again, I don't think it's crazy to look at something that affects 1 in 31 children born. I think that's okay to explore. And I think in our heated political times, it's okay to be like, we can study this more. If it's a concern, put it out there. We'll see what's what. Because again, you know, we're also quick to just like, oh, you got this, pop that. You got this, pop that. Maybe if maybe your doctor will be able to tell you, hey, you got 100 fever. You don't need it. Let's try without it. There have been many times, my wife had 2 pretty difficult pregnancies. Janine, as you know, lost a baby. Our second pregnancy, when Janine lost her first pregnancy, our first baby, Diana Hope. And there were tough goes. Like there were like really rough times in there where my wife and I had to sit in a room with our doctor, and they would be like, "Hey, this, but there's also this, and you should know this. And what do you want to do?" And then on top of that, like we have Janine and her horrible experience, and then everything that she learned since then, and what the medical fields didn't provide or didn't leave room for or anything like that, and we had to take all that into consideration too. So it really comes down to you, your loved one, and your doctor. And if there is some studies out there that are showing there's a link to this, don't brush it off. Let science figure it out. Because like I said, maybe there is a thing there, but maybe it's like it affects these people. Maybe there's who knows, certain area. Maybe it's the Tylenol interacting with something else altogether that's in people's diets. Who the hell knows? Let it be studied. So again, my only critique is wish of some opinions would have been kept not on this to help clearly put that message out there, because the media is going to distort everything. But this is everything that was said. The White House cited data from studies showing there's consistent associations between acetaminophen in pregnancy and autism from researchers at Johns Hopkins, known as the Boston Birth Cohort. The Nurses' Health Study with researchers from Yale, Columbia, and Harvard universities looked at 9,000 kids and found there is an association between acetaminophen and neurodevelopmental disorders, according to the White House. On Monday, the National Institutes of Health also announced the launch of the Autism Data Science Initiative, a $50 million research effort that will draw on 13 projects and analyze data on autism, including potential causes like diet, air pollutants, and psychological stress. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya said, quote, "Our Autism Data Science Initiative will unite powerful data sets in ways never before possible. By bringing together genetics, biology, and environmental exposures, we are opening the door to breakthroughs that will deepen our understanding of autism and improve lives." HHS also released a statement with a caveat that the causal relationship has not been established, saying, quote, "It is important to note that while association between acetaminophen and neurological conditions has been described in many studies, the causal relationship has not been established, and there are contrary studies in the scientific literature." Again, it needs to just be studied. That should have been the headline. The headline should have been, there are studies out there. Seems like there could be something. Maybe there's not. We should be studying it more. That's it. Instead of it being presented as, hey, this has, this is, we figured it out. Again, it's the style of this president. Sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes it's not. Today was one of those cases where it wasn't, And it was also one of those cases where it was like ego. It's just like, hey, you don't have to intro it. Let somebody else do it. That could have been done by, what's her name? The press secretary. It could have been done by a lot of people, But he wants to get the credit for it. That's just the kind of person that he is. Again, sometimes you got to read the room and go, hey, I'm not the best one for this, I was also taken aback as we move into the Charlie Kirk, Jimmy Kimmel portion of the podcast. I was taken aback by his comments at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. I get he's a fun guy. I get he's trying to lighten the room a little bit. And, he's talking about Charlie, took it easy on his opponents. He's like, I'm different. I wanted to beat him. He got a laugh. He got a little laugh in the room. It's just not the way I would have went with it. Again, I said it on Friday. The clip went out today. People are still looking at this thing as a right-left war. It's just not. It's a guy tragically lost his life in the most unfortunate way you possibly could imagine. There's more to it than right versus left. There just is. There just is. And so to continue to look at it under that microscope, to me, is a mistake. And then I got people in my comments that are like, his freedom of speech wasn't taken away. He just lost his show. He wasn't silenced. He wasn't put in jail by the government. What are we playing semantics here? I mean, the president of the United States said Jimmy Kimmel's next after Stephen Colbert got shown the door. Then what the FCC chairman said on the Benny whatever podcast. Then Nexstar Media falls. Then I forget the other company, but they're a big right-wing company. It's in my notes here somewhere. Sinclair Media is another one. They joined Nexstar in saying that they weren't going to air Kimmel's show. They jump in. You know what I'm saying? It's like everything else that has gone on between the administration and the media. Some deserve, some not. You can't have that kind of intimidation. And you know who's the biggest loser out of all of this was Disney. Because what happened? You have the right wing pissed off at you because Kimmel said what he said. So then they suspend the guy or take him off the air indefinitely, as they told us. And then you have the left people going, well, I'm going to cancel Disney Plus. And Disney's sitting there going, what the fuck? We just want to make princess stories. Like Bob Iger's like, I just want to make fucking princess stories. Like it's not worth, like the amount of money Disney makes off of Jimmy Kimmel versus the fucking Frozen girls. Like, give me a break. It's easier money in the Frozen girls. It's easier money with Olaf, the fucking snowman, I forget what other shows they have. What's the one where everybody Inside Out? Inside Out's a big one. Easier to make cartoons, man, than it is to fucking be out here in the middle of this political bullshit. But I felt for Disney a little because you could see it. They get caught in the middle. All the people going, well, there's not much else I could do but boycott Disney to let them know I don't like what they're doing with Kimmel. I mean, there's people that never watched the Jimmy Kimmel show and will never watch the Jimmy Kimmel show that were like, I'm canceling my Disney Plus because I'm unpleased with this, and it just becomes this back and forth thing. And then next thing you know, they're laying off a bunch of animators because, a lot of people canceled the fucking thing, the Disney Plus. Cuddle said to me, she goes, are you going to cancel Disney Plus? I go, I don't even fucking, I don't even remember how I signed up for that shit. Now all our stuff is like bundled together with Hulu and ESPN and HBO. I don't know how HBO got involved with Disney. That's not even the same company. But I think our thing is like all together. I'm like, I wouldn't even know what to cancel. I'm like, no. Thank God, because if you cancel Disney Plus this morning and then this afternoon you found out Kimmel's coming back on Tuesday, that's a lot of paperwork. That's a lot of paperwork to be doing in the average household. I canceled Apple TV because I forget what we were watching. What's the show? Split Up? What's Severance? We were watching Severance. I got to the point with Severance where I go, I don't know what's going on. And you know what? I don't even think fucking Ben Stiller knows what's going on. I'm out. I tapped out of Severance. I can't do it. I got 2 or 3 episodes into the fucking second season. And I'm just like, Ben Stiller's never going to tell us what's going on, or Ben Stiller doesn't even know what the fuck is going on. And here's a spoiler alert for you. Okay. Spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear this, put the mute down. When the spoiler alert comes off, you can put the volume back up. Mute your volume, put your volume down. Okay, big deal. We discovered that his wife is alive. I sat there at the end of season 1. I sat there in 3 episodes into season 2. I go, I don't know what's going on with this fucking wife, but I feel like we're never going to get to the end of it, and it's not going to get solved in season 2. And I'm already in the middle of the Last of Us and not knowing how that's going to fucking go. I can't be worried about more people. I tapped out. I tapped out of Severance. Can't do it. So I canceled Apple Plus or Apple TV, whatever the fuck. And then literally 3 days later, they're like, "Hey, everybody, the morning show's coming back." And I'm like, "Motherfucker! Now I gotta sign up again. And it's fucking driving me crazy with this shit, with all of this stuff. If only there was a way to combine all the streaming into one place. Oh wait, we had that with cable. I thought I was having a good hair day. I don't like how the hair's sitting right now. Doesn't look all that great. I'm sorry, because I know you guys have to look at this. So usually I try and make this look as good as possible to try and bring this up a couple points, but it doesn't seem like anything is working at this point. So that was my whole, now I'm back on Apple TV, even though, and now I'm like sitting here going, I don't know, should I give Severance another try after I go to the morning show? Rhonda, are you watching morning show? It came back already? Is it all? Okay, Rhonda, I'm going to need a non-spoiler confirmation from you on this. Is it all the episodes? How many are you in? No, don't even tell me how many you're in. Tell me, is it good so far? Because I like it. I like the morning show, but I'm a little concerned that, I don't know what I'm heading into this season. I don't know if I can get back into it. I'm more skeptical now about television shows than I was about picking a life partner, than I was about picking my wife. I was more careless when I picked my wife. I was more like, hey, you got to try some things. Now I'm like, I'm not going to commit to fucking 6 episodes of your show if I don't think there's going to be a season. I can't do it. I get all involved in these characters and then I find out that you whack one of them out and now I'm all upset. Or B, you're like, oh, we're not going to make that show no more. I need at least 5 seasons of a show before I can commit to it. Like one of these days, I'm going to get into Lost and then it's going to be, I'm super excited about that. All right, so you haven't even started the new season yet? Oh, you were still finishing older ones? Oh, so you might be on a high. You still might be on a high from getting through. Yeah. I've had some time to let go. I'll tell you what though, on that morning show, Billy Crudup, I could watch that guy do just about anything. His character on that show is so compelling and great. I like Rachel too from Friends. She's reinvented herself. She went from coffee shop waitress to, killing it on the news. I like her character, but I feel like Witherspoon's character just kind of floated off into nothingness. It was like last season, it was like Witherspoon was just moving, she was just moving scenery, Anyway, we'll make this whole thing about the morning show. Let's make it about Jimmy Kimmel. So ABC and Disney announcing that, hey, everybody, Kimmel was just suspended for a week. He'll be back on Tuesday, which is so funny because removing of a show indefinitely leaves the door open for, we don't know what we're going to do yet, but this whole, hey, we've got to put this guy back on the air. We're going to just say he was suspended. It's kind of hilarious how this is all just kind of played out in the media, I mean, and if you're Bob Iger, what the hell else are you going to do? You're facing down again, where you don't want to get caught. You don't want to get caught in the middle between the right and the left fighting each other. That's the worst place to be. The right wants him gone for the Kirk comment. The left now wants to boycott Disney because they didn't stand up against the right. And what happens? You just get destroyed. You get caught in the storm. That's why I refuse to play the game anymore. I don't know if you notice this. I was always an independent, but I'm very more careful about how we cover things because I don't want to do it from the lens of one of those sides. I want to do it from my lens, right here up in the middle. My lens of, I'm not going to take your shit no more, Severance. I'm not going to sit here confused just waiting for the end of the season when I could go, oh, I found out one of 90 things that I need to find out. I guess I'll just stick around for next season. I don't think so. motherfucker. What's his name again? I forget the guy who does it. Ben Stiller, who I actually met, who's a sweetheart of a guy. Real sweetheart of a guy. Anyway, they're stuck in it. And this is how they're battling themselves out. And I'm rooting for Bob Iger and Disney on this one, because I really, as much as what I thought Jimmy Kimmel said, which was unnecessary to comedy, A, and B, he's lost and he's in the right versus left fight. Like if we could literally Matrix style pull some of our friends and family out of the right versus left fights, I feel like they would wake up like Neo and just go, oh shit, I'm just looking at this all wrong. You know, like Kimmel would have realized I don't need that part to make fun of Donald Trump, you know, or it's unnecessary. And he did misspeak. I don't think the right was just like, how do we make sure this guy is not considered like it's not important to why this kid snapped and decided to murder this man. You know, that's the thing to remain focused on. Like what was that? And there's plenty of responsibility to go around as far as that's concerned. You know, this whole thing that Kimmel said, it was whatever. Didn't mean he should lose his gig over it, though. And it doesn't mean that the FCC chair can go out there and throw a veiled threat around, which, by the way, Ted Cruz also was like, this is mafioso shit that shouldn't be happening. Who knew we would rely on Ted Cruz, Marjorie Taylor Greene with the Epstein victims, Ted Cruz with this now. It's amazing how much sense we're getting from people that are just like, all right, I got to break ranks here and just speak honestly. Again, I will always applaud that when it happens. But Ted Cruz was like, this is a little ridiculous. And for people playing the semantics games of like, well, he wasn't jailed or he wasn't, like, stop it. Give me a break. This was government overreach, period. End of sentence. And everybody's going to play nice now to try and get themselves out of this, because believe me when I tell you, nobody wants this, including the president, the Republicans, and the FCC chair. The best thing that they could all do is leave this the fuck alone. Let him come back and do nothing. The only thing I'm still concerned about with this thing dragging out is what's Sinclair and Nexstar Media going to do, because they both said, until we get an apology, we're preempting his show. And that's, I think, roughly anywhere from 24 to 63 stations those two companies own. That's a decent chunk of stations that might not be showing Jimmy Kimmel Live when it comes back on Tuesday. You know? So I don't know if they can keep this going or what's going to happen on those lower levels, because honestly, those should be fights that the local affiliates are having in their market. If you want to watch Kimmel on ABC and you can't now because your local ABC affiliate is not showing it because of their stance on this, then you boycott that station. You do that stuff there on that level. This isn't really something that has to be done in a national level, especially now that they're bringing him back. Is it a cop-out from Disney? Yes. Did they handle this well? No. Is it what's necessary right now to just try and move on from this? Yes. Because I'll tell you what the play is now. Put this guy back on the air, hope that he doesn't make it worse, and just keep moving on. And then when his contract ends, you renew him or not renew him based off of his performance and performance only, which, by the way, we now know is not historically going well for our late night hosts. It's an outdated formula. It's one that I respect and love and I wish stuck around forever, but it doesn't seem to be going that way. You know, and I don't know how well this is going to play out for Kimmel, who, by the way, ABC loves. Kimmel does a lot for ABC. He's been an anchor and a moneymaker for that network for a long time. I don't know if it'll continue, but he'll be around for a long time. Naming my first kid Sinclair Unilever. That's pretty good. I was going to say, by the way, little known fact, you know who owns Nexstar Media and Sinclair? But Unilever. Everything is owned by Unilever, which is backed and owned by BlackRock. That was all facetious. I don't know how much of any of that is true. You know. But anyway, You got to just get things back to where they were. You cannot show that the government showed any sort of influence on you if you're Disney. Like, you have no other cards to play at this point other than saying, like, hey, we just decided to suspend him for a week, let him know that it was bad what he did, and we're going to move on from here and work with our affiliates to make sure that they get that program back on the air. Because if you're Kimmel, you cannot apologize for this. Can't be done. If he wants to, he can. I wouldn't. I would poke fun at it in a as much as a harmless way as you can. If you can, just be like, it was obviously terribly tragic what happened to Charlie Kirk, and we're moving on, everybody. We're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep moving on. Because again, it was Charlie Kirk adjacent. It really had nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. It was Charlie Kirk died, and here's what the president said that I disagree with, or what the right is attempting to do that I disagree with. I think the lesson to take out of this, if you're Kimmel, is don't go there if you don't have to. Again, focus on making everybody laugh. Focus on just trying to make everybody laugh. I saw Mark Norman, somebody put out a clip of Mark Norman talking about this, and he's like, can we just get rid of The View and all agree to move on? Which I'm like, it's a joke, but it's not a bad trade-off. At least they're trying with that humor on the late night shows. At least Kimmel's trying to be funny. The View girls, I don't know what they're doing anymore. I don't know what Joy Behar's up to, but just not trying to make people laugh, that's for sure. Whoopi Goldberg, too. She's a comic at heart, just not trying to make people laugh. Just out there to be the opposition always, just because. Which is hard to say because it's like, I know we do need opposition at times. I know you need it. It's important. It is an important thing. So, yeah, Nexstar said that they're going to keep preempting it. They haven't said anything that they're backing off of that. We haven't heard anything confirming, anything in the other direction. So Kimmel will get his time off. I think tomorrow's episode, Tuesday night's episode, is going to be massive as far as ratings. Everybody's going to tune in to see what he said. Everybody's going to clip what he says, and that'll light fire across social media. And then we'll see where the chips fall after that. We'll see what happens after that. But I mean, literally, I stand by what I said with everybody just trying to calm this down, because you don't want to get into a place where the government is overreaching into any sort of area of free speech. Whether it's the extreme of jailing somebody for what they said, or even putting the pressure on their employer to drop them because of what they said. Both are bad. And those are, here's the least bad and here's the most bad. The least bad being putting pressure on an employer to drop somebody is the least bad, and it's still really bad. Freedom of speech is just one of those things you don't want to mess with or play with. And the FCC chairman was out of line and overplayed his hand. And I would say that about the next FCC chairman that came in that was left-leaning and administered by a left president. You don't want to do it on that side either. This is common sense stuff that you need. And this is not a bucket that we want our government playing in. We'll see. We'll see what Nexstar and Sinclair do. We'll have to wait and see. Tuesday night's going to be big, though. Wednesday's episode, I'm sure, we'll be keeping up with this. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel here. Make sure you're remembered, too. For as little as $2.99 a month, you can help us put on the show. I'll be honest with you. We need some more members. Appreciate everybody that comes in here and hits the like button and shares the episodes and subscribes to our channel. That all helps the algorithm. It really does. But it's our members that keep us going. They keep. It's more expensive now than it ever has been to do one of these stupid things that we do. So if you want some exclusive content, which I'm going to start showing more skin in that, or maybe start showing less skin, whichever will get us more members is the way I'm going to go. I'm also pitching Paul and Robin to come up with a cuck word of the day for our members only as more incentive to join the memberships. So if you haven't joined, or if you were a member and you've kind of fallen off, try and join again. Like I said, for as little as $2.99, we do have a $20.99 level. Again, it's just more. If you can help more, it's appreciated. Join the members area. Link in the description of this episode, whether you're watching on Facebook or Spotify or YouTube, which is where we house our membership area through our YouTube channel. So if you can find a way to join, that would be very, very helpful. We would really, really appreciate it, because I mean it. It has been the rev share that we get from ads has not been as fruitful. We've been trying to stay away from bringing on solo sponsors to not bore you guys with more commercials. So we'll keep the commercials out, and we'll keep the podcast going, and we'll keep the cuck word references, as you can see here from the big three. If we get some more members joining up. So join now if you can. That would be a huge, huge help. It continues our little fight, too, against the whole Epstein thing, which goes again today in credit to Miss Justice for being the first one to get us this story. But Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of something, they're all Duchess of something. I think she's York. Dropped by multiple charities after calling Jeffrey Epstein generous and a supreme friend in a email that has suddenly resurfaced that she sent back in 2011. And by the way, this is after Epstein was convicted in 2008 and sentenced in 2009. After she distanced herself from Jeffrey Epstein, she wrote an email to him, basically endearing herself to him. That correspondence has come to light, and at least 5 charities that we know of, some children's charities, have dropped her from their boards and memberships, etc., for her role in that email. And I think, the reason why this is a story for me is it just goes to show you, and I think everybody's been on Sarah's side. I think everybody felt bad for Sarah having been married to Prince Andrew, then finding out everything that Prince Andrew did, the settlement with Virginia Giuffre, all that stuff. You kind of have this like little bit of empathy for her and sympathy. And then you go to find out that even though publicly she was saying this, privately she was saying this. And it just makes you feel like this is why we need to keep the Epstein information at the forefront of the news cycle. This is why no matter what happens with autism or Kimmel and Charlie Kirk and whatever the hot button topic of the day is, it's still important to keep this in focus, because this is what people do. And even the people who seem most friendly and nice and seem stuck in this weird situation that they got into, that maybe they didn't do anything, then all of a sudden you hear that they're still kissing the ass of the person who should be jailed. And you go, this is why you need to keep talking about this stuff. Two-faced hypocrite. Well said, Miss Justice. This is why nobody should be trusted. This is why we keep talking about Epstein. This is why we ask you to become a member, help us fund the show, and help us keep it going, because our little show and 1,000 other little shows that keep talking about this stuff fuel the bigger shows to talk about this stuff, fuels the mainstream media to talk about this stuff. And it's important, because all these people are full of shit hypocrites, and you just never know who it is. One day you're like, oh, that poor woman got caught up in all this stuff. Her husband's a real piece of shit, and he was involved with Jeffrey Epstein, but she denounced him, and isn't that great for her? And next thing you know, she's kissing his ass, blowing smoke up his ass behind the scenes in a private email. And you're like, well, fuck her. She deserves everything she's got coming her way. Now, she supposedly, and I don't know if this was through her, I think a representative said she stands by her public condemnation of Epstein, but she was caught up in it and needed him to like back off her or something. So she was trying to like make nicer. No, bullshit. Bullshit. Either you're in or you're out. You know what I'm saying? And don't sit there and act like you're the, especially her. Look, it's one thing for a victim to be with their back against the wall. I can forgive victim behavior. You know what I mean? Defamation, shit like that. If something really bad happened to these people and they have no choice and they have no money and they have no options, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes those people do things that they regret, or they get swept up in an Epstein storm and they have no control over it. But you're in the royal fucking family. There's no excuse for you. You back this guy behind the scenes. You're a piece of shit. That's your label. End of story. Sorry. Until I see new information providing otherwise, you're the worst part of the problem, because you sit there on your high horse and you go, well, that was bad, and I distance myself from that. And then behind the scenes, it's business as usual. Well, if anything, those victims proved a couple of weeks ago is that they're not happy with business as usual. So put little Sarah Ferguson on the pile of pieces of shit that need to be investigated to see what else they did. What else did they know that they allowed to just happen? What else was she just protecting her husband over, or the royal family, or whatever? Find out, because every last one of these pieces of shit need to be questioned to the umpteenth degree. Again, did she do anything else? Probably not. My gut instinct is, though, she probably knew some things about her husband a little bit sooner than she wanted the world to know. Again, when your livelihood is not being threatened, when you're going to sit there in your cushy, experience because you're a royal family member, there's no excuse for you. Step up. Step up. For those victims that got victimized and then they were turned into recruiters, and I have sympathy for them. Them I have sympathy for. The people who have nothing, who can't turn to anybody else, who don't have anybody to protect them, those people you can feel sorry for. Sarah Ferguson can go fuck herself. Don't give me that bullshit about bullshit. You had means, money, and other protections. Don't sit there, say one thing in the public, and then say something else to Jeffrey Epstein and expect everybody to forgive you. It ain't happening from me, kid. I'll tell you that right now. You can go fuck yourself. It's the last time I pick up a phone call from Sarah Ferguson. Not to say that I have in the past. I'm just saying, if she's deciding to call me, I ain't answering. So don't even try. Don't even attempt it. Speaking of another piece of shit, Ghislaine Maxwell is out there walking around her new Texas Club Fed. She's taking a stroll. The fuck was... I don't know if I got a fuzzy from the mic there. Sorry if you guys had to witness that. You know when you think you got something, it never disappears. You ever, I drink nothing but ice water. I took a slug of ice water the other day, and I think I swallowed a small, tiny piece of ice because it felt a little weird going down my throat. In my mind, I was like, was that a bug? Because I had taken my comfort blanket, my Baba, which, by the way, DMB fans, this is a awesome piece of artwork that a Dave Matthews Band fan put together. Art by Alley. Google Art by Alley if you love DMB or you love Louisiana and you like just cool artwork with Jazz Fest and all that kind of shit. Love this thing. Anyway, I took it outside and I was like, did a little buggy crawl in there, and did I just swallow? I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's ice, but I was definitely Googling how to kill a live insect in your stomach. I was definitely, because, I think that's how it all starts. I think, one day Bobby Kennedy was like, did I just swallow a piece of ice, or do I have a brain worm? And the next thing you know, he starts talking funny and vaccines are bad. So you're not helping it. You're not helping to clarify the myths that are out there. The point is, Ghislaine Maxwell's out there living it up, walking around with her little umbrella on her work release program. She was photographed outside of the prison camp Saturday before she returned at lunchtime carrying folders and headphones and a clear backpack. This is according to these photos that we're seeing. She was wearing gray sweats and Nike sneakers. I mean, she should be not allowed to have sneakers. She should walk around fucking barefoot. And then we should have prison guards that are just cracking Snapple bottles. I mean, I don't know, deal with it. But yeah, she was along with another cell person who was out there, but they're just walking around. Little umbrella, she's just able to live her life, just living it up in her new prison sentence after this meeting with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, which we still don't have was this magic that she was transferred? Was it just a coincidence? Or are we going to be realistic, and part of the deal of talking to Todd Blanche was, that she gets a sweeter spot? she keeping Trump's name out of it? Is she not? I don't, I'm okay with speculating things when it's like we're not getting any information from anybody, because we still haven't gotten down to the end of that. At least the oversight committee is looking into everything still. And I still find some hope in all of that. Let's visit our good buddy Candace Owens here, which, again, I just go into my comments nowadays and I laugh hysterical. I really, really do. Some people, they're so great. I'll read you a couple of my favorite comments here as people react to me taking Candace Owens to task over her putting out a bunch of conspiracy theories around the fact that her friend Charlie Kirk was threatened and was killed by Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, Messiah. I don't even know. She was just, again, she's talented. She carefully crafted her commentary to just always nudge and be like looking at like, we can blame Jewish people for this death, when there's nothing of substance linking that. Nothing. And again, my whole argument with her is, hey, if you think that's what happened, great. Why don't you investigate it? Get some hardcore facts, come back to us. And everybody's out there like, well, she's going to tell everybody the truth the whole way through. Like that's not the truth. If you want to say, hey, I'm a little worried that this happened, that's fine. But to sit there and allude for 15 minutes that Jewish people are responsible, and then you saw the first round of responses that I got, everybody, just putting the worst horrific anti-Semitic things out there. One guy, this was hilarious to me. One guy literally wrote to me, how much is Israel paying you? I audibly laughed out loud when I saw that comment come in. How much is Israel paying me? I'm wearing sweat. If they're literally, if God bless you for thinking that everybody is on the Jewish payroll. Like, yeah, that's what it was. Israel is paying me. How much is Israel paying you to say this? Yeah, a lot. I don't know if you know this, but I'm pulling it in. Raking it in. Can't even, that's why I defend Jewish people, just because they're paying me. That's why I'm wearing an Islanders sweatshirt right now. It's because they're paying me. Like, you think I want to be in this sweatshirt? Do you think I want to be supporting Islanders, Mets, Giants? There's not a bigger fucking loser on the planet than the person you're looking at right now. Not everything is an endorsement deal. Some people just like to call it like they see it, even if it does take them right into the poorhouse, like it is me. But no, you keep going on thinking that Israel is funding this show. That's fucking hilarious. That's really, really hilarious to me. And then the people just blindly following Candace Owens, like, yeah, she speaks the truth, man. Like, no, she really doesn't. And she got into this whole thing with Bridget Macron, saying that Bridget Macron is a man and all this stuff. Bridget Macron came out today and said, like, hey, which I don't even know what this means, but she's like, I have photographic evidence. Like, is that just a picture of her hoo-ha? Like, is that what is she just taking a snatch shot and just being like, you texting the judge? How do you, and I'm not familiar with transgender surgeries, but I would imagine they're constructing those vaginas and or penises fairly well. I would imagine they're fooling some people, So just because you have a certain part now, does that mean that you were always that? I don't think that proves her point. But, Candace Owens is like, I'm going to get her to do a medical test. And I don't know if Bridget Macron said she would do a medical. She said she would provide photographic evidence. But if I'm Bridget Macron and I've always been a lady, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Take whatever blood test or vagina test or cuck test you need to take. Whatever I would love to throw it back in her. Like, if I'm sitting there, this is how I view this from the lens of a poker player. If I have the nuts, which means you have the winning hand, there's no better time. Like if I'm Bridget McCrone and I'm like, I have nothing to hide, like slam it back in her face, because that fucking Candace Owens needs it slammed back in her face in the worst way. In the worst way. She really pissed me off when she said that stuff about Charlie Kirk, because I know that they were friends. I know that they spoke to each other. And I just feel like I watched her podcast. I watched her talk about it. I watched her allude to all this stuff. Just felt like she was trying to fit things back right into her little narrative to keep people hooked into her show. Like, how do I keep my subscribers? I know the Jews killed Charlie Kirk. That must be it. Like, was she in the shower? Most of my good ideas come in the shower. Was she just like, I'll blame it on the Jews. I got it. You know, always a grift. That's it. There's some people that are just, it's always a grift. Oh my God. And if one more person goes to me, Charlie Kirk was shot from behind. Can you just shut the fuck up? I mean, there is nothing. I have not heard anything more stupid than exit wounds don't like that he was shot from behind. First of all, you can see behind the thing from some angles. There's nobody back there. Secondly, the guy goes back and to the left, which is definitely how when you shoot somebody, they usually go in the opposite direction of where you shoot them from. That makes a lot of fucking sense. These people are fucking batshit crazy. And I hate talking about it, but when it shows up in my comments so much, sometimes the only way to combat it is not by answering individually. You have to put out something like this. You know, it's like, you know, you got to do the fucking, like, yeah, yes, research, sure, but also common sense, momentum. It's going to push somebody to the back the way it does. Also, we have footage of where the shooter was. Is that just a distraction from the person shooting him from behind? Like, just shut the fuck up. We really need to start looking at the internet as a privilege. It's hard to be a free speech guy, which I am. I really feel like everybody has a right to say things, but I also feel like we're rewarding stupidity on social media. We're definitely rewarding rage. And boy, it would be great if the algorithm stopped doing that. You know? Boy, that would be great. Because I just feel like if you're out there being like, Charlie Kirk was shot from behind, why don't we just put you on a 30-day breather? Like Cham Kind. Stop saying things once it creeps right up there, you know? I just don't think that was the case. Now, listen, I seen the videos of the guy who like hand signals, right? The other guy that they arrested who wound up being a child porn guy, right? You know, the guy who was asking a question. Look into all of it. I'm okay with that. I've seen a lot of people be like, hey, this guy was running security for this person, or this guy was in Israel and now he's on Charlie's security team. I feel like some of that is irresponsible. Everything that I've read and researched and interviews, Charlie loved his security team. They were close. You know, they're on somebody, you know, for a long time. You get to know them, all that kind of shit. Could one of them be a spy that was out to kill him? I mean, yeah, sure, I guess so. Odds are probably not. Again, if a husband or wife is killed in the home, the odds are it was the husband and or wife of the person murdered who did it. That's just statistics. In looking at the Charlie Kirk thing, was it the gay guy who's with a transgender person who shot the person who spoke out against all of those things, who was seen on the roof 200 yards away in the exact position where a bullet would get, like, that's probably your guy. I know it seems boring, but the one kid who doesn't matter what his background was or what his parents voted for or what he voted for, he had a problem. He snapped. He didn't handle it well. and the worst tragedy happened. The worst case scenario happened, a tragedy. That's probably what it is. I could sit here and be like, the Jews shot him from behind. I know it. And my numbers would go up and we'd make more money. And wouldn't that be great for my wife, who does the books for the show? But I just can't join you guys on some of those things. Now, you want to look into the guy who did the weird hand thing and whatever. Is it a coincidence? Probably. Is it not? Is it worth looking into? Sure. We got people on the payroll. Let them investigate. But I just, I just can't. I don't know. I'm going to pick a country. We need to find like a small, weird, off the beaten path country and just start blaming them for everything. Wouldn't that be fun? Like, how the Vatican is a country? Like, we need like a small, like, what else are countries that have like population of like 37 people? Like, I don't even know what, but we need to find those and be like, who's behind all this autism stuff? Vatican City. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Hold on. Let's see here. Let's go to Google. Give me a list of the top 20 smallest countries that exist by population. Let's see here. We're gonna find some fucking countries to blame here. We're gonna make it happen. Okay, Vatican City is the smallest with 882. Too much religious implications there. Let's stay away from Vatican City. The second smallest country is Nauru, Nauru, 11,919 people. Perfect. Oh, wait. Tuvalu has 10,643 people. That's pretty tiny. Tuvalu, that's what that kind of feels like. That's too close to Tuvalu. I don't know if that helps us or hurts us. Also, can't pronounce Nauru. Nauru. I don't know. Is that Nauru? Let's go with Tuvalu. Who's behind all this autism stuff is Tuvalu. Look into the Tuvalese. They've been into it a long time. Who I heard was responsible for Charlie Kirk's death? Was the Tuvalus. Yeah. Big thing in that country. Epstein was a foreign asset of Tuvalu. The Tuvalonians, they're a problem. They are a problem. Also, they're in cahoots with Seychelles and Malta and Andorra and Afghanistan. Fuck, Afghanistan was it. We didn't even have to go look up a real country. Afghanistan should be the whole thing right there. I want a passport that says I'm from Afghanistan, because I don't know if we have a better country, fictitious or not. Also, where's Andorra? Is that from fucking Pandora? Is that where Andorra is? Or is that a Star Wars thing? That's one of them. It's somewhere in one of those areas. Anyway. We got to calm down with some of these people who are just like, no, it can't be what everybody's telling us. Sometimes it is, actually. And let's move on with life. Modelo is no longer the king of beers. You might be surprised. You're like, I thought Budweiser was the king of beers. No, Modelo, which is, I don't know, surprising, but maybe not so surprising. I wouldn't say the most flavorful beer out there. But then again, I feel like none of the top 10 are like good flavorful beers. They're all like, I feel like our taste as Americans in beer is shit. Like the Germans, the Irish, these countries that craft, that have just like, they're beer countries. They've crafted beers. They're, they just, beer is part of their culture, all the wit beers. And I drank a beer. It was like made by monastery. It was this weird monastery. They don't have electricity, but they make beer. Belgium, all these countries, all these places. They take pride in their beer. And then it's just like America is like, what's that, like carbonated piss water? That's our number one seller. Yeah, it's technically, you almost can't even call it a beer, but that's the one that we love the most. Is kind of like where we're at. Like, we must be just pissing off these other beer loving countries. But Modelo is out and Michelob Ultra is in, officially taking over as the nation's best-selling beer. It claimed the top spot as the best-selling beer during the 52 weeks ending is September 14th. The parent company, Anheuser-Busch InBev, said on Monday, citing data from Circana. Where's that country? Or is that a company? You know who had Charlie Kirk killed is the Circana people. Those fuckers, you can't trust them. The light lager style beer also reigned supreme as the top seller in bars and restaurants over the past year, according to Nielsen IQ data. It's a big comeback for AB InBev, whose star child Bud Light fell from grace after the collaboration with Dylan Mulvaney. Loyal customers, who cares about that? Anson Fredericks or Frericks. This guy's name is Anson Frericks. Frericks. You know somebody dropped the D from that's supposed to be Fredericks. You know somebody dropped the D from that at some point, somewhere in Ellis Island. Anyway, Anson Frericks, former, because I sound like an idiot when I say that. Frericks, they're like, are you trying to say Fredericks and you just can't pronounce things? Told Fox Digital at the time the collaboration failed because they just were not authentic in their partnership. That slip allowed Constellation Brands Modelo Especial to become the top-selling beer in the U.S. in 2023. It maintained that position up until this past year when it was discovered that Michelob Ultra was now owner of the top spot in beer sellers in this country. So congratulations to Michelob Ultra, who I can only gather is owned by Unilever. Or the fine folks in Afghanistan. But they are now the top spot. So there you go. Shares of AB InBev have jumped 70% so far this year, while Constellation, who makes Modelo, has fallen 40%. This goes to show you whatever bullshit there is out there in the political world, people go right back to what they are used to. You know, so if people are always drinking Bud Light, they probably like whatever, and they're back to drinking Bud Light. Same with all this stuff. I've never been a Modelo guy. I've always been a Corona guy if I'm going in that route. I do still love a Corona with lime, but I haven't been drinking beer lately. I'm just, again, I hit 40 and all of a sudden carbonation became an issue. I don't know when that happened. Literally, I woke up at 40 years old and it was like suddenly seltzer's no good. And everything else that's carbonated can't handle that shit anymore. We did $1.17. I feel pretty good about that. I feel like I had a couple other things to go over and the other sort of topics and such, but I don't really know. Good note on the Canary Islands. We should start blaming shit on them. That's for sure. We'll look into the fact that Modelo causes autism. We're gonna enlist a study on that too, Rhonda, because we have the hard-hitting news here on this podcast, and now we're gonna find out. I wish they would bring back Schlitz. That's a good call. There was some good comments today. You guys were on the ball. Thanks, Miss Justice, for the Sarah Ferguson story, and I apologize I missed some of your DMs. I'm the worst at DMs. I say this from time to time. I feel like you guys have the email of the show. If you ever really need to get in touch with me quickly, the email is probably the best way. I get my least amount of shit in emails. But my DMs are filled with such crazy lunacy. I just don't look at them as often as I should. You know, I literally wind up looking at them like once a month, kind of. And I just like ran into like 10 messages from Miss Justice that I wish I knew ahead of time. BMs, not DMs. Yeah, BMs, I got plenty of those. I got too much of those sometimes. Actually, the problem is sometimes it's too much and sometimes it's not enough. But DMs, I got way too much. I got way too much of those. So, again, if you ever need to get in touch with the show, I feel like you guys know, like plus Discord is probably the easiest. I'll tell you what, you put something on Discord that you need me to see, and Aaron C will get it to me immediately. But you guys know the show's email if you ever need to get something to me. Because my DMs are filled with people that are like, who's responsible for killing Charlie Kirk from behind? It's the goddamn Jewish aliens. Not even the regular aliens. It's the Jewish aliens that are the problem. That's how fucking crazy my DMs are. But don't listen to me. I'm an agent of Israel, and I'm on the take. And whatever political side you're on, the other side is paying me to disagree with you and make you feel bad about yourself. So, can we talk about the puppet from Full House being next to Trump today? The puppet from Full House. Who was that? You got about 30 seconds to get that out there, Bird, before I got to pull the ripcord, because that sounds too interesting. I'm trying to, was there an actual puppet? Or did like John Stamos show up and you're calling him a puppet? Was Dr. Oz on Full House that I don't remember? I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. The other thing too is I gave the 3i Atlas, Anthony. What does that mean? Is this a code? Rhonda, are you going to get me in trouble? Are people going to be like, look, he's communicating with the Jews. He's talking to the Jews. What's 3i Atlas? Shall I Google? Is this an Uncle Jesse thing? I just put in 3, and 3i Atlas immediately came up. Forget alien spacecrafts. Could interstellar object 3i Atlas be a planet forming seed? Oh, I don't know if we should be talking about this at the conclusion of the show. Oh no. Is this the next thing that's going to come and eat us? The fuck is 3i Atlas? You got to love this from Wikipedia. 3i Atlas, also known as C/2025 space N1, and previously as A11PL3Z. What are we naming these things? Is this the object? Oh, okay, an object coming into our solar system. Have we talked about this? Because I feel like I've talked about 3 objects, but there's always like a new one. Is this going to kill us? Is it all over? Does anybody realistically object to this? It's weird. I would never take my own life. Really, in my lowest of lows, I don't think I would ever get that bad. I mean, I guess it's possible, but it doesn't feel likely. Like I get on a plane and I never want a plane to go down. Like I want to live for as long as possible, but there's something about, the whole world is ending. That's almost kind of like, well, I mean, shit. You know what I mean? Like, all right, you get a bad diagnosis, you try and fight, you get medicine, you try and fight it. You find out you got this thing, you try and figure out ways around it. You try and take safe planes. You try and do all these things to stay alive. If it came down that, hey, this thing is coming and it's going to eat the planet and it's all over, at that point, you got to kind of be like, well, okay. I wish we'd know for sure, because I'll tell you right now, they don't really know what it is, and it's close. It's coming close to us on October 20th. I'm going to tell you right now, if we know that there's a possibility the world is coming to an end on October 20th, bring on the drugs. Bring on the drugs. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but if shit is going down, I want to be high as fuck while it's happening. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be, first of all, I got to get away from my family. Because they're just all going to be like, tell us it's going to be okay, Dad. And I'm just going to be like, well, it's not. Maybe High Dad could tell you that, but I don't know if normal Dad can. But I'm with you, Paul. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going to. I'm not curious about heroin, but if it's all going down, I'm going to be like, yeah, let's see what that feels like. I can stay away from heroin for my entire life and not worry about it. But like I said, if I'm 82 and enough has been enough already, I might want to try it. See what happens. If we know shit's going down on 10/20, which by the way, I was going to propose a 4/20 show on 10/20. I don't think I talked to the rest of the team about this yet, but I was like, we need another one of those excuses just to get really drunk on the air and talk about things irresponsibly. Kind of like what our president did today, just throw caution to the wind. Well, the funniest part about Trump today was he's like, can I say that? I can't really say that. He would look at people just to check and make sure that he's pissing them off. He's like, these guys will tell you, but I'm just telling you, I don't like it. It's my opinion. Just don't like it. Follow me blindly. Like his choices are so interesting. They really are. He just kept looking back at people, just like, am I saying the wrong thing? Am I doing something that's causing a lot more damage? Yeah, I am. Okay, good. Let me keep going. Frank texted me. He's like, I can't. He's like, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I'm like, it's probably better that you don't. This was one time where I was like, it's good. We wouldn't have gotten through. We would still be on topic 1 an hour 25 in if Frank were here and had to react to all of the whole thing. All right. See, now Rhonda just checked and it's December 19th, not October 20th. Rhonda, you would have had me fighting a serious heroin problem heading into this Christmas had you not corrected that fact. I am so grateful we did not end the show before you could correct the record and let everybody know, because it would have been Thanksgiving and I would have been at the table being like, I thought this was all going to be over before Halloween. I thought, now I'm all fucked up. And I think this is what heroin, don't they just scratch and tick a lot? I don't know. All right, I'll look more into this thing and we'll see if we can talk about it. I'll give you the first thing. Interstellar comet glows green during lunar eclipse. Space photo of the day, September 15th. NASA's Artemis program aims to return humans to the moon, laying the groundwork, blah, 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 blah. Why did I click on this article? It's not helping anybody. I'll tell you what, these science articles can be a little difficult to deal with. Science Alert, Universe Space Tech, supercarblondie.com. Like we can't trust this. I know you think I'm making this up. I swear to you. One of the goddamn things I just look, supercarblondie.com. You see it? Do you see it? You saw that, right? Supercarblondie.com. What scientific NASA level article did you read that from? Supercarblondie.com. Yeah, that's where I get all my space news from. Just trustworthy. They do their own research. That's why I like them. And they also blame a lot of things on the Jewish people. So also good in my book. Just doing a character. People don't click that. It's changing a lot. Okay, fucking Rhonda's thing. Fucking Rhonda's not going to have me sleeping tonight here. Learn a lot of things, changing a lot. You'll be very intrigued. Look up the Harvard scientist. Okay, I'm going to look that up. A.V. Loeb. Any relation to Lisa Loeb? Because if that's the case, I'll stay and read that article. Because if AV and Lisa are related at all, they both talk so all the time. I'm just struggling to find out stay lyrics, just trying to remember them. Just fighting through my 42-year-old brain to like remember what Lisa Loeb sang about 30 fucking years ago so I could make some stupid jokes on the tail end of this episode. All right, we'll look into 3i Atlas / formerly 3B 3019 Niner 47A. The Jews killed CharlieKirk.com to find out if there's more to be had here. We'll see if Avi Loeb has any musical talents like her niece Lisa had back in the day, or aunt, I should have said. That probably would have been funnier. It doesn't make sense that Lisa's younger than Avi, but maybe it does. I don't know. If it is true, I'm going to need a suggestion of my nearest heroin dealer for everybody. So if you could find somebody in the Hamptons area, it's the Hamptons. It shouldn't be that hard to find heroin around here. Feels like again, I don't get invited to the cool parties. I don't know where the crazy drug rings are. It feels like I'm getting left out of all of it. So if somebody could drop a line and help me out there, that would be much appreciated. Thank you to everybody for your amazing comments. I love all the love in the chat as always. I don't know what this means, but thanks, Unilever. This is Unilever. I think this is a Unilever plant.
Potato salad.
I'm not 100% sure if this can be trusted. Look into it.
Maybe we should go now. Go ahead.
Love you all. Catch you next episode.